Got another one for you. What if Theus ran for Congress? All right. Next question coming again from Anna. And her question to me was, what would I do to protect from, I guess, I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it. Let me read it a little bit. Um, what would I do to make sure the big regulations, for example, fraud, corruption, environmental protections, can't be torn down as easily as we've seen them be attacked over the last 6 years? And oh man, this is a tough one, Anna, because I don't really have much of a concrete answer for that. And the reason why I say I don't, because I do have some thoughts, but the reason why I say I don't is because this is a cumulative problem. And it's also one that I feel is built on momentum. So we are working against a very strategic and purposeful opposition. They have made intentional strides to put people in places of authority outside of the normal public eye to erode these institutions. And unfortunately, I'm going to use as an example the EPA and the post office. So unfortunately, when you look at this, you have a situation where we see crooked people being installed, and the public, for moments, glimpses of time, see it, acknowledge it, are repulsed by it, and then almost instantly pivot to politicians are corrupt. What do you expect? And then we go on about our business. And then because we're no longer looking and because these people are still in place, they're steadily breaking things. And we don't live in a time of magic per se, so we can't just fix it. And so when I think about your question from the position of being a congressperson, it's how do we slow it and then redirect the energy, and maybe even not just focus on, like, my focus wouldn't just be on protecting what is. I would be more centered on creating what's needed. And I put it that way because what Congress is best at is tooling around the edges of things. They don't do big things. They don't do bold things. So I would say the best way to correct the corruption issues that, we've had, what, Glass-Steagall, we've had Gramm-Leach-Bliley, you name it, and they're always going to be under attack. And I'm bouncing around just a little bit, but I say that to incorporate the idea, from my point of view, that things don't operate in a vacuum. So while we are working to put something better in place, your opposition or our opposition will be working to break it, to break what's already there. And it's not an equal race. Buildings fall down faster than they get put up. So that's one reason I said not so much, my energy wouldn't be as much on fixing as it would be replacing, because the damage that's being done to them is such that, where do you fix it? Once the structure has been weakened sufficiently, then patching it and repairing it just don't work. So for the government corruption side, I would work with other senators, or if I was in the House, other House members, to craft legislation, political corruption first, to craft legislation by leveraging and this is not going to be popular for a lot of our progressive people, but you have to build alliances. And you're going to hear me kind of say this frequently or repeat it repetitively in different questions and topics. Uh, but I have a different way of kind of playing it. It's not just enough to say, hey, I want to do this thing. Will you support me in it? Which is the normal way. And then you start, bribes and kickbacks and arm twisting. No, I'm looking at more of building your coalitions so that you can find where there's overlap in interest and then strike competitive bargains with each other to do this one thing. And you'll say, okay, look, we're going to focus on the political corruption. So I would push for term limits and so I would be looking for other people who are disgusted by corruption, regardless of what party they're on. And if they're passionate about that part, because they're in there, everybody's not on the dime, right? There are oftentimes some people are just disgusted by this thing that they're in, and they don't know how to get the word out or what have you. So working with those people that's one thing that they would agree on, that term limits is something they can back up. They can back. Okay, so I'm interested in term limits. You say you are too. What is something else that you are interested in? They may say something like public transportation for seniors. I don't know. But whatever their topic is, we would debate these things amongst ourselves to forge an agreement that says, I will go all in on your public transportation for seniors, provided you are agreeing, this is on paper, that we are going all in on term limits. And then you try to build up a certain level of support. This is very similar to how things are kind of done already, but this is where it kind of differs. The way we do things now is really about who can pay who and who can give who a favor. I'm not talking about exchanging favors. I'm saying that we're going to trade issue for issue, and it'll be narrow issues, right? I would definitely lead the charge in whatever I'm pushing for being what they call a skinny bill. So it's really targeted towards this thing, so that now when we go out to vote, it's not we're voting on this package. No, we literally don't do anything but beg for money and vote. So let's vote. That means we need to vote 4 or 5 times a week. If that means we need to vote 2-3 times a day, let's vote. So we will vote specifically on term limits, and then we would turn around and vote on the seniors thing, or vice versa, right? So I would definitely look for doing that. And those alliances really, unless we choose to make them long lasting, would really be more transactional, right? For this topic, I'll go all in, but I'm going to fight you on anything else I don't agree with. So don't think that I'm now, or you are now obligated to either of us to back every idea that comes out, right? Because the media will instantly play on that. They will say, well, wait a minute, Congressman Theus, you supported public transportation for seniors, and your colleague supported you on the term limits, and you guys have an agreement. But then here you are, you're talking about reparations, and they don't back you. That's fine. That wasn't part of our agreement, right? So I would definitely let's put blinders on and do thin or skinny proposals. Vote them up, vote them down. Everybody's now on the record for these things. Now, I would face extreme pushback because the system itself doesn't like that, right? The Senate likes omnibus, and the House likes weird, complicated packages. But that's so that everybody can hide and so that the leaders can horse trade, right? But I would be pushing for us not to rely on that. I would say that for the issues that I want to have put on Front Street, that they would be skinny. Um, that's one thing. That's one way that I would approach that. And that would be for, we talked about corruption, but it would be the same thing for any of the other topics, because each one really deserves its own weight, its own research, its own full-on debates, all of those things. And I would be a little more non-traditional as far as that part goes as well, right? Because C-SPAN is like the channel no one watches unless you're a political junkie and there's something specific going on. But we got podcasts all over the place. We have the ability to have them ourselves. We have the ability to have our own websites and all these things. So one of the ways that I would kind of, because there's a fight that's up front and there's a fight that's behind. So I would also be fighting a more non-traditional way. It would be things like this, where I would come out and I would have, just as your senator or as the House member, I would have a virtual town hall at minimum once a quarter, preferably at least once a month. And when I do that, that's not just so I can come out and say, my dear fellow Americans, I'm working with people. No. I'm saying I will come out and say, here's what I'm working on. Here's what I am proposing. High level, this is what I'm after. These are the people who are giving me opposition. These are the special interest groups that I'm hearing from that are pushing against it purely out of spite, right? I would have to name names, right? Not in a vindictive, childish way, because you have to be professional, because today's adversary is tomorrow's ally, but not to the point where you've corrupted yourself. So when I come on, I'll be talking to you, the voters, saying, here's what I'm working on. Here's who it helps. Here's who it hurts. Here's who gets paid, right? Because to me, those are three major things that are always in play, but seldom talked about. We just kind of pick one piece or the other so it makes us look good and get a nice little clip. No. So I would do that. So the virtual town halls, the in-person town halls, the website so that I'm always able to get information out, being on various podcasts that are out here in the media ecosystem. I would try my best to, and this is just my personal take, and perhaps this would change, but from where I stand right now, I really would try to avoid national media. And my reason for that is they're not really trying to get anything out for you. Okay? So why would I go on, name your major media network morning show when we're never going to actually talk about the substance of what my idea is? You'll give me approximately 15 to 30 seconds to talk about it. And then it'll be chopped up and twisted and debated by talking heads who don't have any skin in the game. They just, they're like me. They're commentators. So I'm not really getting my message out. I'm just being talked about. And that's not necessarily the same thing. So whether I do major media or I avoid major media, odds are if I'm making enough noise on the other channels, these back channels, I will be a story anyway. Right? The story might be Theus refuses to come out and talk to the American people. Theus refuses to come and face the hard questions. Theus, right? But that puts my name out there. There's going to be plenty of information out for you to get on me from the, like I said, podcasts and things like that, interviews that are not major media, right? All of that will still be there. And I'll go anywhere you want me to go to talk for the most part. Now, I'm not going to go hang out with like the hard right racists, but I'll go talk to the conservatives. I'll talk to the liberals. I'll talk to the progressives. I'll talk to the moderates. I'll talk to the corporate Democrats. I'll talk to all of these people, because the things that I'm most interested in oftentimes have major overlaps, because my intention, my passion, my purpose is just helping vulnerable people and populations and protecting the nation's interest in being able to continue. And unfortunately, that does mean you make decisions and you do follow things that you don't necessarily fully agree with. But on balance, you have an obligation to something bigger than your own personal ideals. So that will always be in play, but I'll tell you, I'll talk to you about it. And that, if it catches on, will spread. And you'll have more politicians doing the same thing because their constituents will start to either demand it or be asking about it because people, they like to gravitate to what makes noise. So I would do that. So that's the targeted skinny bills, the partnerships, defined partnerships, right? So just for this exact project, we're going to be project partners, and that's what we're going to do. And then the constant media and in-person activity, right? Because you guys know me. I don't really like to do a lot of videos. But if that's my job, that's what I'm going to do. There's no way you can tell me, as busy as your day may be, you can't tell me you can't find 1 hour out of the week to put out a video. And if you can't do an hour, you sure enough can do 20 to 30 minutes. So get out there and do that. That's something I would honestly, definitely commit to. And I would have my staff that's one of the things that it's in there. This happens. We do this thing. Let's see. And that's pretty much all I really could do from where I can see it as an individual member of the Congress. I can't pass the bill by myself because of the way I am. I probably wouldn't be in leadership. But I can definitely push leadership. I can definitely build coalitions. I can definitely target these bad actors so that you will hear their name. It'll be constantly in my mouth coming out about, hey, why is this person sitting in the EPA whose whole career was drilling for oil? Right? So that would be how I would approach it. Hopefully that kind of answers what you were after, Anna. Please let me know if that didn't answer the question or if it just created more questions. Same thing for anybody else who's watching this. Give it to me. Keep me busy. Looking forward to telling you more and talking to you more. Because if Theus ran for Congress, this is what you get. So, all right. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you again. Have a good day.